there, I am Mary Claire Fredette with the Center for Barefoot Massage, and I want to talk about a question that we get a lot before people sign up for class, and that is, am I too big to learn Ashiatsu? Well, first of all, just so you know, Ashiatsu is not just about weight. It's more about shifting your weight on or off your client according to whatever their needs are. So it's really more about grace and balance, but there are some considerations to take into account if you are not in good shape, because it may make life a little bit trickier for you. So I'm going to go through a couple of those, and you can also read through our blog post, and I've got all of those listed there for you as well. So the first thing to take into consideration is, are you able to sit up onto a stool without clocking your client on the head? So right here I have a 24-inch stool with a bolster on it. You can also use a 29-inch stool. If you have an electric table, it makes your life a little bit easier, but we're just assuming you don't have an electric table right now. So the question is, can you sit on a stool and swing your legs over without whacking your client on the head? So it will look something like this. So you're going to sit your rear end down, swing your leg over, bring your other leg up. So you should be able to glide down your client's back and do some fun, fancy footwork without your belly being in the way and without you clocking your client on their back or on their head. Okay, so that's one thing to think about. So another thing to think about is, can you get up onto the table? So we usually have the table maybe at 24 inches, 23, 24 inches. You have to be able to actually get up on the table. So you can get onto the table by kneeling like this and stepping up, or simply by stepping up onto the table. It's going to be a little shaking, and I'm sorry about all the patterns. It's just to make sure that you're awake. So you can also step up onto the table like this. So you have to obviously be able to step onto the client with grace and ease so that your clients don't know that you're walking around on the table. I mean, they know you're walking around on the table, but they shouldn't feel you walking around on the table. Does that make sense? Okay. So another thing to think about is, do you have enough arm strength to hold yourself up? Now, technically, you don't need quote-unquote arm strength. You don't need to be able to do pull-ups, but you do have to be able to stop yourself if something would happen to you. Say, for instance, once I was working on somebody and I put pressure on his hamstring, and his hamstrings were so tight that he actually jumped up, and had I not had a hand on the bar, I would have actually fallen off the table. So I had to be able to stop myself by pulling myself up onto the table. So you need to make sure that you have that kind of upper arm strength, so that if something would happen, or if you had slippery sheets on the table and the sheet slipped, then you'd be able to stop yourself from falling off the table by holding onto your bar. So the next thing to think about is, what kind of clients are you going to be working on? So ideally, you will be working on clients for Ashiatsu that are at least 50 to 100 pounds than you, because it's really difficult, even if you're a small therapist, to work on small people. It's really hard. You can ask any of our instructors or anybody who's taken our classes. It's really hard to do Ashiatsu on small people. So if you are a therapist who is, say, 200 pounds, are you going to be working on people who are 250 pounds or 300 pounds? And if you are, that's fantastic. You want to make sure also that your table is strong enough to hold you. So you need to actually be honest about your weight. I mean, sometimes we say, oh yeah, I'm a size whatever, but you actually need to weigh yourself to find out that you're not going to structurally damage your massage table. So in that end, we do recommend that you get a really good quality table, and we have a couple of blog posts about that, and I have those linked in our blog. So you can take a look at our blog post, and we'll tell you what tables that we recommend for that. Another thing to think about is endurance. If you get winded walking up and down the block, then you may want to consider, just a thought, may want to consider getting in a little bit better shape before you come to take our class. We'll be spending about 2.5 hours each day working, and you'll also spend that amount of time receiving in our first 2 days of our fundamentals class. And in our range of motion class and our intermediate class and our advanced classes, those are almost all hands-on. So you are going to be spending a lot of time working. So we want to make sure that you are safe for not only yourself, but for your therapist that you're working on, because obviously we don't want you to fall or work to the point where you are a danger to yourself or to them. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So the last thing I want you to think about is also, if you are what I wouldn't say we call it, what some people call skinny fat. If you are a slim person, but you're actually not in really good shape, you need to consider all of these things as well, because you also may not have the endurance to be able to do Ashiatsu. So just a couple of things to think about. You know, there's nothing wrong with being overweight and learning it. We've had some really amazing big therapists who are phenomenal, and they're super graceful on the table. And we've had teeny tiny people that are just terrible and clunk around like Godzilla, and they're like, wah, bam, bam, bam. And so really it has nothing to do with that. You just have to make sure that you are safe getting on and off the table, that your table is strong enough, and kind of go over those points that I covered here in the video or in our blog. If you have any other questions, things that you'd like to know about, let us know. You can always email us at info@barefootmassagecenter.com, and make sure you keep a look at our class schedule at barefootmassagecenter.com. Thanks, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.